Hi everybody! So today we're going to be focusing on data and content, particularly on whether data is a friend, a foe, or a frenemy when you're deciding what to do in terms of content. So we'll be approaching this presentation today with the help of a webinar done by Social Bakers. Today's presentation will be focusing on how brands can develop a data-driven content strategy to develop content at a speed and at scale, and deliver measurable business outcomes in the meantime. In today's digitally advanced world, data and creativity must go hand in hand. Only by analyzing what resonates with your audience will you be able to craft the right context and content to maximize your business impact. This webinar focuses on how does content truly drive business. Aaron Gomez, the Vice President and Head of Strategy at VaynerMedia, relates to us a story about this guy called Gary, who was tasked with differentiating his family's liquor store business from other mainstream liquor stores that offer the same products and the same services. So what Gary did was he started up this thing called a wine library, which focused on generating content that drove interest on how he differentiated his business from the rest. After doing this, he then wanted to build a content empire. This would be filled with people who can create content that works for the new generation of consumers, without ignoring the older generation or requiring them to immerse themselves in new digital touchpoints. So the way that he approached content was to prove that there was a new landscape requirement for the marketing mindset. How do we think differently? This is where data comes in. There are three main drivers of content. So the first one is attention to what is going on in the world when it comes to social media, pop culture, or simply a world full of relevance. Culture should not be undermined but should be showcased. Number three is empathy. Empathy is a strong part of the work we do, as otherwise it is very difficult to contain attention in culture. This is extremely important as we realize that this is where the consumers care, that this is where we meet the consumers where they care, and in order to do this, you need to understand what the right platforms are and what they are doing to your content. When it is relevant to post your content and get the highest yield of impressions also matter a great deal. People on mobile phones and usage of mobile phones have increased. This behavior is important to know, and Aaron Gomez advises us to not think that we need to only put money into digital and to be successful, but instead we need to change our thinking to think about what actually works. The answer to this is we need to help boost our content and engage people through multiple different platforms. Certain brands do this very well. For example, brands like Nike do this extremely well by creating engaging content. So do storytelling brands as they meet consumers where they care. The approach Aaron Gomez suggests is that instead of going into a new client meeting and saying, "Hey guys, we need to do content," he suggests to kind of hack culture. So the game is changing. Frenemies emerge. You see a lot of information and social statistical data coming through, especially from smarter startups who have recognized that this is the way forward. Marketing directors are realizing that they can't continue the old way. They know that the way they approach marketing cannot be dictated by paid media alone. In fact, it is actually a mixture of how much paid media versus reach you can get as well. No longer do we analyze purely based on numbers. It is basically a collection of personas, people's passions or interests or what drives them, and this is where content truly comes to life. When we approach these different audiences, media and creative always works hand in hand. A lot of people think about TikTok as being free engagement, and it's a great place to program content. But what people don't actually realize about TikTok is that it has free range, where although you are doing content that gets you results, you're not actually sure where these results are actually coming from. And another thing that people mistake in TikTok is that although you get massive rates of engagement, there are weaker points as there are weaker points for it as a platform entirely. So what we can do is look at the content and see how media can actually drive organic or earned reach and deliver the kind of results truly wanted. We move on to the next slide, which talks about how the current game is awareness. We are trying to move towards relevance. This has to do a great deal with sentiment analysis and the kind of responses people do or provide in relation to the content we do. This is where data becomes our closest friend. We use a volume model that turns up the volume on business results by creating volumes of quality content, by taking what the client has and breaking them into new creative content strategies. The way we do this is by taking a main asset of content and breaking it down into multiple smaller creative assets. Instead of looking at creativity as an outcome, we look at creativity in order to achieve business outcomes and gain audience interest in products and services offered by a business. Now you decide. In this new world, data needs to power your storytelling. Data and insights regarding culture, world events, and empathy only strengthen your content. And as a new audience, it's savvier than ever out there. In order to meet this new audience with content that matters, you need to truly decide your approach. So you decide. Data, is it your content friend, foe, or enemy? Thank you.